The Gen Zs are more spontaneous. I'll be thinking about the process of how to do things. The Gen Z has already thought about it
More
and is already
innovative,
performing
more
it.
creative.
Yes, because they have the tools at the tip of their fingers to do it.
Where we have Gen Z issue now is because of this advent of technology. They are the ones that make good use of technology.
Two major things affect people's character. One is parenting, the other is environmental.
Be your brother's keeper to some reasonable extent. That thing you think that is so good for you may not be good for another person.
When I go to church, this is how I want to dress, fantastic. But when I go to church and dress like that, is it going to help the pastor concentrate when he's ministering?
And children always learn from what they see their parents do, not just what you say. I welcome you all to Healy's Talk Show program. All thanks to God for His mercies. Vivid View. Say and do it. Be a go-giver as well as a go-getter. Say something, somebody.
My name is Oluwafemi Emmanuel. The teaser, be a go-giver as well as a go-getter. To me, knowledge is power and never a waste. When you have something, you have to impart it also to others so that they will learn while you gain more knowledge. Thank you.
My name is Ogene Sume. Be a go-giver as well as a go-getter. What I understand by this is that you should be able to assist others achieve their goals while you're achieving yours. You should always carry people along. Thank you.
My name is Grace. Be a go-giver as well as a goal-getter. It simply means develop yourself to become an outstanding mentor.
Thank you so much for your opinions on that teaser. Be a go-giver as well as a go-getter. For me, Healy's, I'm going to share into two. Be a go-giver, show compassion, give your time, give your resources to others to make others succeed. And being a go-getter, keep on being diligent, be commitment to whatever you lay your hands to do, to the plans you have marked for yourself in life. Continue in that. That is the only way we can have full success. So enough of this, we'll continue with our discussion for the day. The Gen Z phenomenon in Nigeria is the topic for today's discussion. It's time for a break, and when we come back, the guests will be introduced. Please stay with us. Vivid View, say and do it. Welcome back. In case you're just joining us, the topic again is Gen Z phenomenon in Nigeria. And with me in the studio is a brand communication specialist. Let's make welcome Mr. Kingsley Arukwe.
Vivid View,
Say and do it. Before discussion proper, please follow us on our social media handles are displayed on the screen. Mr. Kingsley Arukwe, you're welcome again. Please, can we have your definition and perspective on the subject matter?
who are even the Gen Zs? Let's define them based on the perspective of the age bracket.
Yes.
We have the baby boomers, and then we have the Gen X, the millennials, which is Gen Y, and then the Gen Zs, which are, the subject of discussion, and then
Gen Alpha too.
and then Gen Alpha following them. The Gen Zs are people born between 1997 and 2012. The thing about Gen Zs is this, we've come with this mindset of the Gen Zs and their characteristics and their mannerisms and all of that. But you see, the thing is, they didn't just give birth to themselves. And of course, you can't blame them too much. Why did I say so? Because the times is what bring about the personalities that people become. G. Michael Hove said, the hard time creates strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. and weak men create hard times. So it's a cycle.
Yes.
Now, you see, from the baby boomers, dovetailing to the present time, has been times where things were at some point difficult for the baby boomers. Okay, they had to strive through everything they had to get and everything. And then dovetailing to the Gen Y, of course, that was easier. And they went to the millennials, and all of a sudden, that's technology booming. And then the Gen Z come, and they are now introduced into a sphere where everything has already been set and made for them. Now, it's also, the human nature is also developed in this sense that two major things affect the person's or people's character. One is parenting, the other is environmental. Okay, we found out that the Gen Zs were given birth by the Gen Y. So there's this attribute of human nature where we find out that parents don't want their children to face the same hardship that the parents experience.
Yeah.
They want life to be better for their children. So I've had difficult times, and then, of course, I had to make it better for my children. The baby boomers giving birth to the Gen Zs, okay, brings about a situation where a parent who has, in quotes, suffered all his life, so to speak, now give birth to a set of children, and of course, because he has passed through those stages, do everything possible to ensure that the children have the best. So you have children born into a situation where they do not lack anything. Okay, they were given everything. And then, of course, the parents just pump in all their resources into their children. Then you have a society on two prongs again, where the society is now turning towards technology. Things are done faster, better, is available at the tip of your finger. And then you also have a society that is also derailed in the sense that, before it was a community living, now it's more or less like a secluded kind of living. So all this thing is molding molded the mind and perception of life of the people, or the children who were born into the Gen Z generation. So they pick that up, and then of course that formed their character. So you find out that the Gen Zs are actually not doing anything by themselves. It's what the society have failed them that they have become.
I think that Gen Z generation they also call the Zoomers, because this is all the time for Zooming, for technology, as you often say. Everything is all almost prepared for them to just come and eat, so to say. But as the discussion goes on, we know whether that is actually what they are doing now or something else is happening. Then you say, in contrast between Gen Z and the millennium, what are the distinctive values and personalities?
Oh, okay. Yeah, the millennials are a set of people that, believe in hard work. You see, the age difference is just about 15 years gap, thereabout. There's actually no defining line, strong defining line per se. Is a
between the millennium and the Gen Z.
Yes, it is a band of years, but you can literally say it's about 15 years thereabout. The millennials have a way of behaving. The millennials are take responsibility for things, are more willing to work as a community. The Gen Zs are more individualistic. The millennials are mentally stronger. The Gen Zs are not as mentally strong. In fact, the Gen Zs are mentally aware. So what a millennial can take, the shock a millennial can take, a Gen Z will tell you, I need to go for a therapy. So you won't blame them, like I said. It's because of course,
I need to go for medical checkup.
Yes, because
it's affecting my medical health.
Yes, my mental health is at stake, So
my mental health and all that.
I'm a millennial, okay? When you speak to me, when you talk about going for a mental health check, I'm wondering, what do I need it for? We are mentally tough, but the Gen Zs are not. And like I said, you won't blame them. So these are the very distinctive characteristics. We were born in when technology was evolving.
Well, every generation has their own peculiarities.
Yes.
That is true. So, but what have happened from the old generation, some have transcended to the new one. The gap is not really all that much. But I think where we have Gen Z issue now is because of this advent of technology. They are the ones that make good use of technology. In our time, we are also the part of the Gen Y that is translated to this one, and even Gen X, whatever you call it.
I agree
But
with
you know, so that's what I understand that's
Yes,
happening to us.
I
Yeah,
agree with you. But you see, technology is always evolving.
yeah.
It's always evolving.
That's
The
true.
way a cell phone was, in
2000
1970,
is no
in
longer like this.
1979, when Motorola first called AT&T
Yeah.
to tell them we have the first mobile phone. It's not what it is now.
Exactly.
Technology keep evolving. It will keep evolving.
Definitely.
Okay. But we got into this stage where we could say this is now, the more or less like a technology evolution, the millennials. Now, the Gen Z came into when what has been done has been modified and refined. So they came into the stage where you have technology at the tip of your fingers.
Exactly.
Us, we have to make the technology happen. They came when the technology was the tip of their fingers. In fact, the Gen Alphas are coming to a stage where the technology is on the go. Without even asking, you have it. So that's how it is.
Yeah.
So that's just what it is. But again, like I said, it's all those things that are forming the things that they get into. The Gen Zs are more spontaneous. I'll be thinking about a process of how to do things. The Gen Z has already thought about it.
More
and is already
innovative,
performing
more
it.
creative.
Yes, because they have the tools at the tip of their fingers to do it. I'm thinking of how do I even process. They have already processed and developed.
Okay, maybe we'll take this question before we go for a short break. How should Gen Zs be treated? And how should they moderate their desires?
Okay, the agency, like I said, there's nothing wrong with agency, to be honest. It's no fault of theirs.
At all.
Parenting and environment have shaped them to what they are. And to expect them to change from who they are,
We should respect their views.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Naturally, human beings are even resistant to change, even as much as we claim that we want change. So expecting a Gen Z to change is not going to happen. What we should be looking at is moderation.
Yes. I'm going to use the word moderate. Yeah.
Yes, because you want to do things, you're spontaneous, you want things to happen. You can literally do things on your own. You can stay in your house and work remotely. You can do anything on your space. And most of the time you feel like it doesn't concern anyone because this is just me. But the truth of the matter is, so long as we're on earth, every action of ours affects the other person, whether
Definitely.
directly or indirectly.
That's
Every
true.
single action. Every single action. I'm playing my music in my car. It does not concern anybody, but it may be loud and you're passing through a street and there's someone who had headache. It's affecting the person. It doesn't concern anyone. I like to eat. What's this thing? The way they make this stew? Your father's stew?
Father's stew and
Yeah. So you're always bleaching.
Yeah.
The
oil.
And there's smoke. Oh, right. It doesn't concern. It's in my house.
Yes.
And let me even assume you're not in a rented apartment. Okay, it's in your house, but there's a neighbor.
Yeah,
There's a fence and there's another house. Who does not like to use AC because of his health condition?
Exactly.
So he must leave his window open. So you see, eventually you find out that everything we do affects the other person. And that's where moderation comes in. Okay, we are individualistic as Gen Zs. We like to do things our own way, but we must also at every point in time understand and put some certain level of control to ensure that whatever we're doing does not affect every other person negative, at least not to disrupt the ecosystem.
Gen Z believes in Operation Mind Your Business. I. That is what we just said. That's the area we are coming in to moderate, to say at least be your brother's keeper to some reasonable extent. That thing you think that is so good for you may not be good for another person. See how you can manage it in that area. And also you need some guide. Even though you think you know everything, but you still need some level of guide in some of the decisions you take, in some of the things that you do. Because if you don't, you may go astray thinking that everything is just okay. That things have already been done for you from the past generation. But you see, like I said, it transcends, it's a continuous something. Even the Gen Alpha comes in, will pick up from where Gen X stops, just like that. So you must not stand alone. God didn't make us to be alone. We are not just an individual, social being. We need others, to survive. So always have that Gen Z at the back of your mind. That certain things you may be doing, certain decisions you may take, may also hurt somebody else. And so see how it can come in between so that there will be peace and carry everybody along. We'll take a break now. Vivid View, say and do it. Welcome back. We're still discussing Gen Z phenomenon in Nigeria. You know, everything that comes to Nigeria, somehow, whether good or bad, the way we pick it, maybe because of our size, you know. So that is it. There's need for us to discuss it. That's what we're particularly saying in Nigeria. But we know Gen Z is all over. It's the entire world, not only, you know, peculiar with Nigeria. So again, how do we now draw the line between morality, modesty, and worldliness in Gen Z? Because a lot of things they bring in, they dress nude, they don't care. So how do we now address it? Like I mentioned earlier, they should also think of others.
Okay. What is even morality? Morality basically implies a distinction between what is right,
And
what is good,
bad,
and
yeah.
of course what is wrong. Modesty implies being able to tamper on whatever thing you're doing.
Like being at the middle somehow.
Yes, so
Yeah.
just be able to balance it
Yeah.
out. Anybody can decide. Of course, you have the right and the freedom, and there's of course no law against whatever you want to do regards dressing. Of course, you can be on social media and do anything or say anything, which is allowed. But like I said earlier, in the previous, before we went on break, that whatever you do affects someone else. So that brings us to the place where, as a Gen Z, you must be able to, with reasonable efforts, try and ameliorate whatever you're doing. You want to go on social media, you want to vibe, you just want to speak your mind, you want to say things the way they are. It's going to affect someone else. At least if it's not going to affect someone, it's going to affect people who are probably older than you. And the Gen Zs, they challenge authority. They
don't
challenge
care.
authority. And the challenging of authority is not even because they want to be rude, but they just believe that the ways you were doing it, they don't see a reason why it should be done that way. For example, they go to church and you tell them, you must tie a headscarf. And they're wondering, why should I tie a headscarf? They will go to church and they braid their hair, for example, for the guys, and you're telling them they don't braid their hair. And say, it's my hair. Why should I braid the hair? It's understandable. So, in a course of challenging, the tradition, religion, and all of that, we must get to a place to understand that human nature is still human nature.
Of course.
And that
No
does
doubt
not
about
take
that.
away the fact that as much as the right and freedom and the privileges that comes with it avails you as a Gen Z, that it will not warrant you to try and tamper a bit on some of these things. So that every other person can have a fair share of the goodness of life, at least for their sensibility, if not for anything else. That's where the Gen Z have to come. So morality implies that you be able to distinguish, this is right, this is wrong. I'm doing a social media video and I want it to go viral. Yes, we understand that once you go, probably dress half nude or something, it gets you the validation on social media, with the likes and the clicks and all of that. But then, how is this going to be speaking to the general public?
Exactly.
It has to, that's where the morality aspect gives you a definition of scope. Whereby you now say, okay, this is the scope, but this is where I can now cut
You
it.
must
So
set the
it's
boundary.
Yes. So
in all you do.
if you have not defined that difference between morality, it becomes difficult for you to do modesty.
Exactly.
Modesty is secondary to morality. So be able to define this is right and this is wrong, and then this is where I'm going to put the dividing line. The dividing line is where modesty comes in. So I go to church. This is how I want to dress, fantastic. But when I go to church and dress like that, is it going to help the pastor concentrate when he's ministering? We allow the other ministers to concentrate when he's ministering. This is how I want to dress to the office, fantastic. But is it going to allow the female, if he's a female, is it going to allow the male to concentrate on their work without putting too much eye on you as a female? That's fine. If it's the male, this is how I want to dress. Yes, you want to dress that way. And don't get it wrong, there are ways that male dress that also seduce the female.
Of course.
So
No.
you just have
It's
to be
vice
able
versa,
to,
vice
yes,
versa, yeah.
you just have to define those things to be able to create that balance. And when you've defined it, morality, then creating the balance, modesty can now take effect.
And motive matters a lot. What is your motive for dressing the way you dress? What is your motive? Is your motive to seduce someone as a lady? Is your motive to seduce a male? This is very, very important whenever we do. And does it also align with the Bible that we believe in as Christians, even for the Muslims as much? Do they also align That we are now in Gen Z does not mean now everything in the Bible is now babash. They just, as if they are creating their own rules and laws. And so when we elderly ones see, they say, where are these coming from? Because modesty and moderation we're just talking about is for you as a person. There's certain things you both call privacy. Then why will you now be letting that as private, let it out to the public? For instance, our ladies, when they wear what I wear now, you see their breasts all over here. If they do like this, you just fall off. In the name of dressing at this age. And that's supposed to be your private. So some of them think that private only stops here. No, it doesn't. And so I dress just to make myself happy. It's not. Your motive for dressing in that manner to go out, if you're not, even those acting the dramas now should also be careful, because the younger one think they're doing the right thing. You also need to be careful. Your motive is wrong, is to seduce somebody. And then when you are raped or when somebody pursues you, say, man, it is a habit. Something, because some people may not understand. Some men who even had that tendency of rape, you now open up. You trigger the whole thing. That is why we're asked to dress moderately as ladies. And know what you're supposed to cover the right place. That is your privacy. Keep it for your man who is going to be your husband or anything. Just spread it in the open like that. In the name of we're in Gen Z. So sometimes I ask, in Gen Z madness? It's not madness. We have a lot of things we're gaining from you. But be moderate and draw a line, at least to some reasonable extent, of what you're supposed to do, so that your next neighbor will also be fine. Whatever we're doing, think of next neighbor. Don't just think I alone. That's the message we're passing here. What should be the proper behavior of conduct of our Gen Z now?
Okay, like we said earlier, is modesty. Modesty in terms of everything. In fact, it's not even just about the Gen Zs now, generally. Human nature, generally, requires us to apply modesty.
Yeah.
I'm not Gen Z, but sometimes I like to play music, and sometimes I like it loud. But I have people around me, I have neighbors around me, and I won't have to play that loud. I actually do not play that loud.
You consider them to some extent, yes.
Okay, so it is just human nature, modesty. Now, modesty in terms of your personal way of living, modesty in terms of dressing, modesty in terms of choice of words and language.
Even eating.
Modest, everything it has to be modesty.
Yes.
Otherwise, we will become wild. Humans, we are not wild. We are supposed to be, we are tamed beings.
Yes.
So, but when we throw away modesty out of the window, we become wild. And that's not the direction we really want to go. The second aspect I would say, aside modesty, is self-awareness. Self-awareness brings you to the place where you understand that you're a human being. Youthfulness, as it were, is just within a space of time. At some point, you will become
an adult.
Becoming an adult, and of course, have someone who will be looking up to you. The question we want to ask ourselves is, what kind of role model are we going to be at that time? So if we don't start now to apply caution in the course of the things that we do, it becomes a problem when we have people looking up to us, especially when they're children who we have given birth to. Yes. Okay? So self-awareness is important. Of course, taking responsibility is also important. One thing I know Gen Z's done too is they don't take responsibility for anything. Okay? It's important that human beings take responsibility. This is wrong. Yes, I think I was wrong.
Yes.
It's important. That is also a dovetailing from self-awareness. These are the things that the Gen Zs have to do. Modesty, self-awareness, taking responsibility for action. And the list can go on and on. The Gen Zs will soon start becoming parents in maybe another 2-3 years. I'm not saying they are not, some of them who are parents now, but I'm just saying their time for becoming parents proper is maybe 2-3 years' time. One thing about human nature is when you start giving birth, you understand that there are things you must change. Now, this music that says baby changes everything. Yeah. Okay? When you start giving birth, you see that you start giving instruction to your children. Don't do that. Don't say that. Don't talk that way. Don't touch that. Don't do this. It just have to be there. But how are they going to do the same when you, who are the parents, are not exercising the same caution as well. So it's important that we understand and frame this in a proper perspective as Gen Zs and realize that, yes, we have the liberty. Yes, we can do anything, but we have to tame it in order for us to be, what it's supposed to be as human beings.
One thing is that the young ones, Gen Z, most of them don't know the value of parenting, what their parents are telling them, not until they self become parents, as you just mentioned. Okay. And sometimes we say, you can't give what you don't have. If you didn't mold your character properly, what are you going to tell your children? And children always learn from what they see their parents do, not just what you say. So it must be the talk and the do before your children will know, okay, this is what. If daddy said, do not do this, they don't see daddy go do the same way. Daddy said, don't go this way, they don't see daddy go that way. But you cannot tell your child, don't go this way, but they find you going. I said, what's daddy saying? Like I said, it's just from one stage to another stage. But we need to get it right. We need to remember that morals is still important. The morals or the upbringing we are giving you from the old generation is still important. It's still what's going to mold your future, mold even your time now. Do not push it aside. Do not. For whatever reason. What Bible condemn it. Don't bring up what Bible condemn and say, no, this is our time now. Because every law in the whole world emanates from those 10 commandments that God gave to Moses. Whether in the Quran or not, it's the same thing. And so we need to be sure and be conscious of that, whatever we do at Gen Z.